Good afternoon and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. No issues now. They've told us the internet's all fine and we're doing over, what is it we're doing? 700 megs per minute. Yeah, it's even better. Anyway, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. A few things to talk about this afternoon. Things that we didn't cover this morning and some of the chat that we missed out. See how many people we get on because people are kind of doing their own thing at this time of day, aren't they? Anyway, the Stars, there is one player, even at just 20-year-old, he's a player that a lot of people are saying he has a big prospect at Celtic. And he's now on loan. He's getting put out on loan this season again. Having spent last season at Scott Brown's Ayr United before Scott got sacked, the former Celtic B team captain, Kyle Uri, is set to head back to England on loan, which is an interesting one because at 20-year-old, you would think that, you know, we're bringing in players. We're being linked with a central midfield player that is 22 years old. 2 years, does that make all the difference? When we look at the player that we're looking to bring in from Torino, and he's going to cost us a good bit of money. Now, the Lithuanian midfielder at 22, is he better than Kyle Uri? I'm not too sure. Well, he obviously is. He's further ahead in his development by 2 years. But wouldn't it be better? I know that we need to bring players in that can hit the ground running. We've lost Arnie Engels. Could we push Callum McGregor further forward? Could we bring in Kyle Uri to play in the midfield? Or even if it's just backup. Is there the need to go and spend the best part of £5 million and upwards for a Lithuanian midfielder at 22 years old? There's a train of thought that would say rather than send out Kyle on loan in this transfer window, I can understand why Celtic are doing it and Martin O'Neill's doing it. It's like go out and get another year's first team football in you so that you're ready to come back and hit the ground running in the Celtic midfielder in the future. But we've got a massive couple of weeks in front of us with the next two games when we're on course. You've got to say, everything is going well. The Celtic fans yesterday were phenomenal. The songbook was out in force. Obviously, it's 45 years since the hunger strikes, and a certain section of the fan base were celebrating. Is that celebrate the right word? Was commemorating it from the stands, and the songbook was absolutely phenomenal. When you look at the league table, Celtic, everything is going well for Celtic right now. We are top of the league table by a good stretch. We're 2 goals to the better. It's all good in the league. We had a fantastic result yesterday in the Premier Sports Cup. It looks emphatic, but it could have been a lot closer because Dundee United, don't know, as long as teams keep hitting the post 5 times in a game and not scoring, I would be happy. But the thing is good teams are going to punish Celtic, aren't they? Do you fear? I know there was a lot of changes in the team, in the back line, and obviously keeping Kieran Tierney fresh for the game. Yang had a little bit of an injury, so Yang was out. And then having lost Alistair Johnson. Now, having lost Alistair Johnson, should Celtic make the move for Nico Sigur immediately? Because we know that we need a replacement. He can play right along the back line and he could play that defensive midfield role. So when Alistair Johnson comes back, you can actually move Sigur from the right back position into this holding midfield position. And wouldn't that be beneficial to Celtic and Callum McGregor by then allowing Celtic to play more free-flowing football? Because I think that Callum McGregor does play better further forward. And I've got to say, I mean, he is the holding midfielder. I thought that yesterday, Oxlade-Chamberlain, he doesn't look as if he's got the pace, but he reads the game really, really well. And some of his passing was phenomenal. You know, some of his passing was phenomenal yesterday, and you've got to say, you could see where the quality is there. Does he have the pace for the fast-paced SPFL? There's one thing that's good about Oxlade-Chamberlain in that midfield, is that they can break down the Celtic attack, the opposing team's attack. Celtic are quite good at stopping the counter-attack. Scott Brown was always good at it. Neil Lennon was probably, I think he was the master at being able to spot a breakaway and basically nullify it. I mean, Neil Lennon wasn't the fastest. We can all agree. Paul Lambert, I would say, was way faster than Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon looked as if he was pulling one of those big tyres at times. But what Neil Lennon could do was he could see the way that the play and the counter-attack was about to progress. And he would go for the guy that he thought was 90% chance that the ball was going to go to this guy, and he nullified him. Can Oxlade-Chamberlain be that type of player for Celtic? Can Nico Sugar come in and play it right back straight away? Yes, he definitely can. Should Celtic spend the 4 million plus, whatever it's going to cost? I think that we need to do that deal now. Do not wait. We saw yesterday that Colby Donovan is a good player, but going into the Champions League is going to be a different kettle of fish, isn't it? And I think going forward, especially the situation, here's where Celtic should really get their act together. We know that Alistair Johnston's injured just now. We know that he's not going to be sold in this transfer window. We bring in Nico Sugar just now. If need be, you put him in the holding midfield role during the season when Alistair Johnston comes back. You've then got a couple of players that know each other in those positions and can do fantastically well. I think the fact that he wants to come to Celtic, he wants to play aside Alistair Johnston before Alistair Johnston leaves. And he's scored 2 goals and 22 caps for Canada. But his favourite position is the defensive midfield player. Is he the type of player that Celtic could come in, get him on a 4-year deal with an option of another year, like Celtic seem to be doing just now? And let's face it, we know that we've got this season and next season of Callum McGregor. We need to start thinking forward. We need to start thinking of who really is. Maybe Kyle Urey is the player that will ultimately replace Callum McGregor in that midfield. When we look at what happened with Callum McGregor in his younger days, he was loaned out. Nobody batted an eyelid about Callum McGregor being loaned out. Nobody sort of said, oh, that's his Celtic career over. He went out, he worked away, and then he came back. He knew that he would always have a fight. I mean, he played on the left-hand side of the midfield. He was never a holding midfield player. He was put into that position after Scott Brown left. Maybe it's a good thing for Kyle Urey. I'm not too sure. And the Celtic staff will know better. They'll know that they can get more game time and they can hopefully see him progress as a player. But anyway, we do need more cover. We should really be killing the opportunities from the opposition before they arise. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The way that Scott Brown used to play the game, the way that Neil Lennon used to play the game. Those attacks, Callum McGregor does it to a certain extent, but there was one of the shots on goal yesterday. Callum McGregor tried to chest the ball down to Oxlade-Chamberlain, and there was no pace on it. The ball kind of just stopped dead on his chest, and then the Dundee United midfielder stole the ball a couple of steps forward and has a crack at goal, comes off the post, just one of the times. Anyway, Seager and give this 2 players, central midfield player, attacking midfield. Is the Lithuanian the man to come in and replace Arne Engels in that attacking midfield role? On Transfermarkt, he's valued around about €6 million, about £5.5 million. It looks as if, I don't know. The thing is, when you look at the Celtic team, maybe the hierarchy at Celtic are going, right, you really need to look at this squad, because as it stands, we need to get rid of Balak Wisher. Let's get the full squad up. So in that midfield, you've got Benji Negrin, Yang, Luke McCown. That's the wrong midfield. Jesus, it's gone to the Celtic site. It's got people out on loan and everything on it. When you look at the midfield, Mika Bauer looks as if he's going to be a fantastic addition. If we lose Rio Hatate, we're going to have a replacement for Rio Hatate. Rio Hatate's on the bench. So we've lost Arnie Ingles. Benji Negrin, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Callum McGregor. That's your starting three as it stands just now. I would say that Mika Bauer, although he's not the biggest and most physical player, I think that he could take the place of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain quite easily. Leave Callum McGregor in the holding midfield role, and Mika Bauer plays a little bit further forward. But we do need a bit of competition. We need to bring in a replacement for Arnie Ingles, and we need to bring in a replacement for Rio Hatate, who is on his way out the club in the next week or so. I think it'll be about a week and a half before that finally comes off. Looks like Panathinaikos are the team that are making the move for Rio Hatate. Some crack at the game yesterday, Baz. Yeah, I've seen that, and I've seen a couple of mates that ended up on the telly. Yes, right behind the flags. And they posted it on their Facebook page. It was quite funny. Anyway, that should not happen, depending on the team is missing. I like Ox, but he has no pace, says Robert. I'm going to jump into the comments now, since I kind of missed it out this morning. We desperately need a holding midfielder as backup, and a left back, and a backup replacement for Ralston. Isn't Colby Donovan ahead of Ralston? I mean, it looks as if Ralston's just going to be happy sitting on the bench this season when he can get on the bench. Sinisalo needs to stay as number one keeper. Getting injured was the best thing for his career so far. If he gets a full year of football this season with this level we're getting to, it would be great for him. I think so. I think that he's... It'll be interesting to see what keeper Celtic do go for, because it's looking like we're going to go for another 22-year-old keeper. Something similar to what Sinisalo is, and it should give him a good bit of competition. And it's great to have younger keepers coming through so that we can build for the future. And I think what Martin O'Neill was doing, I think when we look at the team just now, it's a fantastic... Whoever the next manager is going to take over a squad where you're not going to see as many, there's not going to be as big a turnover as players next season. I don't think. When you look at the goalkeeper situation, I mean, Sinisalo, does he get sold next season? If he has a fantastic season this year, we bring in another 22-year-old goalkeeper and he's the replacement for Sinisalo. Or does Sinisalo, he's been at the club now, 2 years? How much longer can we keep a hold of him? If he has a really good Champions League, can Celtic realistically keep hold of him for a long time? We need to wait and see on that one. Alistair Johnston, if he's not away this window, he'll be away the next window or the window after. Hence the reason that we need to go and get Nico Segur in now, in this window, so that we're way ahead of the game. Liam Scales was given a 5-year contract just towards the end of the last season. Austin Trusty. Cameron Carter-Vickers is the most interesting one, with him being the most long-serving at the centre backs, because he came... did Liam Scales not come in before Trusty? Can't remember now. I think he did, didn't he? But anyway, you've got Dane Murray coming through the system. Dane Murray's a fantastic prospect. He is still a prospect, even though he's not as young as what the younger players are. He's holding his own within the squad as a squad player. I'm not saying that he should be number one defender, not at all, but he's a fantastic player to have as backup. Colby Donovan comes under that as well. Great player to have a backup. But the thing is, he's ahead of Tony Ralston. Tony Ralston will leave at the end of this season. And Adam Montgomery, I think that he'll leave at the end of the season as well. Kieran Tierney. So looking forward to next season, the next manager is going to come in with Liam Scales, Trusty, Carter Vickers, Colby Donovan, Dane Murray and Kieran Tierney. That's not a bad set of defenders. We'll bring in a couple of additions that will make that stronger. Hopefully, like I say, we bring in Nico Sugar before that, which will make the transition for the new manager next season absolutely fantastic. Back to the squad in the midfield. Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think he's not here next year. I don't think that any manager coming in worth his salt will look at Oxlade-Chamberlain and go, I think there will be enough younger players with the like of Mika Bauer in that midfield that will give Celtic the energy required. Now, it remains to be seen whether we can bring in the Lithuanian defensive midfield player. How long would he then stay at Celtic? If we can get him in this year, maybe we can get a good 2 years of him. We need to think about what the next manager wants to do with terms of building a squad for the 9. Because that's what we're really doing at this point, is building a squad that will have the longevity. Luke McCowan, he's got a couple of years on his contract. And Callum McGregor will have next season, and that's it. Benji Negrin, I expect if he has a season similar, if he has a season where he scores 20 odd goals this season, he will be away next summer. There is no doubt in that whatsoever. You don't score 20 goals 2 seasons, and remember, he's on 3 goals already. You don't score 20 goals 2 seasons in a row in Celtic, and you don't get a £20 million plus bid coming in for you. Is he as good as Arne Engels? I think he's better than Arne Engels. Although maybe some things you could see where Arne Engels is maybe better, but Benji Negrin's got the goals in him, and that's what matters. This season we've still got Jota to come back. Balak Wisher will be gone. Casper will still be here. D'Emilio Duran will still be here next season. Yang will still be here next season after being given an extended contract. Tenekti will be here. Tenekti seems to be coming onto a bit of a game. Scored a cracking goal yesterday. His final pass is still a bit questionable. And Callum Osmond just can't get onto the pitch just now. He'll have to remain happy with the fact that he is third choice backup as it stands. And where's Johnny Kenny going to fit into this squad? Johnny Kenny's not going to get anywhere near the bench with the current system that Celtic play. James Forrest has got 1 year. He's got this season left in him, and then I want to see him just given a job for life. Hassan, it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of negativity this morning on the chat. A lot of negativity saying that he doesn't look up to, I think Liam was saying that he's the new Balak Wisher. You've got to give the guy a break. He's not had any pre-season. He is just came back after the World Cup. He's only 2 training sessions with his current team. And people are having a dig at him about yesterday's performance, even though he came on at the half-time. Bauer looks identical to Hatate on the park. They look nothing alike. Maybe their hairdo. I've never seen Hatate with a bit of stubble on his face yet. In fact, can Hatate grow a stubble? And I think that Mika Bauer's a little bit slimmer than him. But even though Charlie Mulgrew was having a dig at Mika Bauer yesterday, live on Premier Sports, he said that he doesn't look the biggest. He's a bit thin. In other words, how will he cope with the rigours of the SPFL? Well, you've got pace and you've got a bit of good football ability about you. You're always going to beat these bigger guys. Yes, they will come in with the crunch and tackles and all the rest of it, but I'm sure that he's a good enough footballer to be able to handle the SPFL. Seager played in Europa and Conference League qualifiers. I would still sign him though. Yeah, but that's okay. The qualifiers, doesn't that change once you get to the main competition proper? I thought Ballotwishaw was definitely going or gone. He's not away as yet, and there is a couple of teams in for him. We'll wait and see how that one works out. Let's jump back onto this screen. We've only seen Brower for the second half. How can you say he looks identical to Hatate? I think he means in looks, not the way that he plays the game. We need competition all over the pitch. Do we need competition up front? I think we need one more winger and get rid of Ballotwishaw, bring in one more winger, and I think that we're looking good. We're looking good up front. I think for the first time in a long time, the first time since we lost the Grumpy Greek, since we lost remember, we only ever had 2 strikers at Celtic because we relied on Kyogo Furiashi doing everything and scoring the goals. And Celtic just played the one striker. When you look at the front line now, the players that we have, Jota's back on the pitch training. Casper is going to score 20 goals this season. I would say Camilo Duran could score 20 goals. At least, I think Hassan will jump in with about 10. Yang, he's off the mark already, isn't he? And then you've got Johnny Kenny, James Forrest. I mean, get rid of Ballotwishaw, bring someone else in, and you've got quite a formidable front line. You've got goals in that front line. You know, Jota, he can score goals. We know that. He's done it previous. Casper can score. Camilo Duran can score. Yang can score. Tenekti scored yesterday. Callum Osmond, we know, can score. Hasim Hassan, we'll still to see what he can do, but I reckon that he'll be able to score. Johnny Kenny's got goals in him. Some people don't like him because he's Irish. And James Forrest, well, he's scored for 17 seasons in a row with Celtic. He might not be as prolific, but there's one thing for sure. He will do more assists than anybody, giving him game time. So I think all over the pitch, Brian, I think that we're looking good in the forward position. I think the only part of the pitch that we really need backup for a new impetus would be the midfield. Even defence, I think that going forward, it looks like Martin O'Neill is more than happy with the players that we have, apart from the fact that Alistair Johnson is out injured. So we'll just need to wait and see what happens with that one. But I've told you who I think we should get in. Local petrol station staff are looking forward to loan Ballotwishaw, because they look identical to Hattie. I never says he plays like him. Did he? Did you see the Shite Shifters advert board? I was laughing when Dundee keeper was kicking it. No, I never seen that. I did see the 5 van company, and if you're looking for a van, James, just go in and ask for James. He's one of us. So just if you're looking for if you're looking for a new van, just go to Facebook and look up the 5 van company. They're based just outside Cowdenbeath, and it was good to see their vans. He comes from Ballingry Fife. He's one of the good guys, put it that way, as Jim. And it was good to see his advertising board there yesterday. Great game last night. We played like the old Celtics. Self-new signs. Is there a renewed confidence? I mean, it's only been a few signings, but has that been enough to give us the renewed confidence of? I think we're playing some exciting football. It's the beginning of the season. You're always a bit rusty at the beginning of the season, but when you look at that's 4 goals in the League Cup, which is good for the first game. When you look at the league table, we've scored 5 goals in 2 games. We scored 4 goals in 1 game and 1 goal in the first game of the season. If we keep on that trajectory, I think it could be one of those seasons where teams are terrified of Celtic again. You know, teams are they don't know what Celtic are going to do. I think that the predictability is probably the word that I'm looking for, has gone from Celtic. You know, the predictability that we're going to give it out to Daizen Maeda, who's going to pass it into Kyogo Furuhashi, and the big defenders just goes, well, tell you what, I'll take out Kyogo Furuhashi in the midfield. I'll give him a wee nudge on his shoulder with my shoulder, and he'll go down like a ton of bricks, and that'll put him off his game. That predictability's gone from Celtic now. Martin O'Neill said that we were shy shot in front of goal last season. He said there's a lot of players have left the club, and the players that we've brought in, Martin O'Neill's excited about it again. And I think that's start. And I've got to say, yesterday, Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney. I've never known an assistant manager to get in on the songbook at Celtic. And here's a question for you. And they were talking about this on Premier after the game. Are Celtic preparing Sean Maloney to take over from Martin O'Neill in the long term? And could Sean Maloney be a successful Celtic manager that could take us to 9 in a row? Learning from Martin O'Neill, the wisdom of Martin O'Neill, what he brings to the game. Now, Sean Maloney's been number 2 to Roberto Martinez for a number of years. It was Roberto Martinez number 2 when they managed Belgium. Some good high quality players. Sean Maloney does have a reputation within the industry as being a good footballing coach. Should we get carried away with it? A few years ago at Celtic, under Neil Lennon, Celtic wanted to have a kind of handover moment where they brought in someone that could work with Neil and would then take over the reins. It didn't kind of work out. And then we got Ronnie Dyler as permanent manager. At the time, there was a lot of chat that Ronnie was actually being brought in as Neil's number 2. But Neil had to go that season. Not getting to the 2 cup finals was the kind of, yeah, that's it, Neil. Your time's up. Ronnie Dyler then comes in. Now, I'm not sure, none of us know how the Celtic hierarchy work. And especially since the hierarchy tried to rob Sean Maloney and Fozzie. Could, and I'm just saying could, and I'd like to get your opinion on this. Could Sean Maloney and Fozzie be the dream team? Could you imagine if that was the dream team that make the 10? But then again, longevity is something that not a lot of Celtic managers get the hindsight of. And it is all just about Sunday chat. It's just about Sunday chat, isn't it? The board see fans also like Maloney. That's true. Maloney shall be the next manager, guaranteed. At least we can get the lad Sugar on time. We definitely need him in more on time. The backline, Alistair Johnson, injury prone. Cameron Carter-Vickers and Kieran Tierney have been injury past. Brian, people keep on going on about Kieran Tierney's injuries before he came back to Celtic. Do you not think that we should be laying off the back of Kieran Tierney? He had a full season last season where he was injury free. Give the boy a break. That's like saying, fuck Baz, fucking remember 2 years ago you were like, 4 years ago you were using a computerized voice on YouTube because you didn't want to show your face and that, and it was before AI. I just think that people need to lay off Kieran Tierney. He was injury free last year. there is nothing to suggest that he's made of chocolate. Big players at big teams in the modern game. In the modern game, you have rotation. There are very, very few players around Europe that play consistently 35 to 60 games a season. There are very few players. Do you know? And I think that we need to get... We as Celtic fans, when Arne Engels came into the team, people were like, you can't have Arne Engels sitting on the bench. He's £11 million. You can't have an £11 million player sitting on the bench. Why not? I don't know. Why can't you have Kieran Tierney sitting on the bench, 50 grand a week? If you've got a squad that's good enough, which we seem to be building now at Celtic, there will be times where you go, right, we're not going to play Kieran this week because we want to keep him fresh for the game in 2 weeks' time. And that's good man management. And I think that that's where us as Celtic fans, we got too used to, a lot of the older fans, I'm going to say, are too used to, they think back and reminisce about Martin O'Neill's first time here. You could name the starting 11 every single week. Every week. There was very few changes. And unless Celtic were 4-0 up, like yesterday. 4-0 up and Martin O'Neill goes, right, make changes. Boom. Let's get players off and get some leg time into the players' legs. The modern game is way more physical. It's faster than it was in Martin O'Neill's time 25 years ago. We need a bigger squad. We need squad rotation. And if we've got 30, 40 million pounds sitting on the bench, so be it. It's a fantastic position to be in. When you look at some teams around Europe, they can be sitting with 100 million on the bench. You don't see other fans of other clubs going, that's bloody terrible. You can't be sitting with all that money on the bench. It's crazy. Said it first, Sean Maloney for manager. Different guy, Maloney, but I think Maloney is as good as you said. In Belgium, he picked things up, and he with O'Neill. Belgium were a top side in those days, yes. And you learn something when you're a coach of a top side with good players. Although they didn't achieve what I think they could have, but then again, some big teams do that. Is there any for the future? The bottom line is a slightly better place than in relation to where we were for last year's Champions League qualifier. I'm not going to get ahead of myself before this qualifier because this team that we play on Wednesday are far better, far superior to Kara Almaty. Yes, we are a little bit further forward when it comes to player acquisition. I think that, like Martin O'Neill said yesterday, he would have loved the players to have had more practice time on the training pitch with each other, because you've seen through points of the games yesterday, there was one move where Casper got the ball on the edge of the box and he tried to do a reverse pass, and the run just wasn't made, and Casper's like, fucking, that comes with time, and it does come down to the board, and I noticed that the sack the board banners and that were still kind of at the ground yesterday. But yes, if the board had got their finger out and got some of these players in, we've chased them all summer. So if the board have got these players in during the pre-season, like Martin O'Neill wanted, Martin O'Neill would have been a little bit happier. But we get them in when we get them in, don't we? Such a Celtic way. If it was just Martin O'Neill who came in, I guarantee it wouldn't have been this good. That's an interesting one because, I mean, he went for Sean Maloney, as Sean Maloney was already at the club. Sean Maloney was pathway manager. Fozzie was sitting in his house on the UB40. He was just sitting doing nothing. And it was Sean, not Martin, that we forget this. It was Sean Maloney who picked up the old dog and bone and went, Fozzie, my man, happening? What's that? What's that? Are you stoned? No, perfect, mate. What are you doing tomorrow morning? Can you be up at Lennoxtown for 7:30 tomorrow morning? No bother, man. I'm just waiting in my bed. See you tomorrow. And that was it. Boom. Click like that. And that tells me two things about Fozzie and Sean Maloney. They're great mates, and when a mate is in need, you just do it. There's no second, there's no even thinking about it. So, yep, I'll be there, and that's what Fozzie did. And Fozzie, the rapport that Fozzie has with the players. I mean, when you seen him welcoming Mika Bauer to the club, he's like, "Come here, big man, give a cuddle." Yeah, yes. Fozzie's such an infectious character within the boardroom, and I think that is just absolutely phenomenal when you see it, and it's something that Celtic need more of at the club. Just my opinion. And I think going forward that Celtic need to keep a hold of Sean Maloney and Fozzie in some capacity. Anyway, right, I'm not staying on for much longer because I have got things to do this afternoon. Jump through some of that. They'd offer them the same wage. You think so? Why can't Maloney, crikey, spoke to Steve Martin, Michael Nixon getting a thank you card off you. Not me. Where is that actually? Give me 2 seconds because I was sent this last night. Where is it? Now, people talking about transfers and such like. I did put this up on the community tab last night with the Celtic spend this season. Let's just get this up on the screen before we finish up this afternoon. Image. Now, I'm not sure this is the whole spend. The departures. Camelia Duran in 6 million, Casper 11 million, Hasim Hassan 6 million, Mika Bauer 4.5 million with up to 2.3 million, Hassan 6 million up to 3 million. That picture's terrible. When you look at the outgoings, you see there you've got Rocky 2.3 million. We took a hit on Rocky. Daiz Maeda 10 million. Lewis Palmer 3.5 million. Hateo Inamura 1.2 million. And Arnie Engels, that's saying 22 million agreed. There is a bit of dispute whether it's 22 million or if it is 25 million. But either way, if it is just the 22 million, we've brought in 39.2 million this season. We have spent 32.8 million. Now, people said at the end of last season, what do you think? How much money do you think that Celtic will spend in this summer? I said between 40 to 45 million. Celtic are still on course to spend 40 to 45 million. Could get really interesting. Anyway, what if Tierney and CCV get injured? We end up with Ralston left back and Scales centre back. That's not enough cover. I did say we need to bring someone in for Alistair Johnson, the Canadian. The board weren't willing to offer Maloney him as an assistant manager job. Why do they think they will offer him as the manager's job? It's just a conversation, mate. I think Osman will be getting pissed off soon and bring on James Forrest before him. James Forrest plays in a different position. James Forrest is a winger. Callum Osmond is a striker. He knows that he's a young lad, and a young lad isn't going to get... Look, if we're bringing in 22-year-olds and we're loaning out 20-year-olds. Anyway, last year we were crap at this time, especially for Carrot. It was embarrassing. Obviously, you bring on Forrest over Osmond. Osmond is a striker. Go. The club has had many millions without all this. Yes, of course they have. They've had all the merchandise that everyone's been buying this summer. Anyway, right, that's me done and dusted for this afternoon. I might be back on later tonight, depending on what some of the scores are. And hopefully there's a fantastic game of football goes on today. What games are today, actually? Let me just double check the other Premier Sports Cup today. We have Stenhousemuir. We have Stenhouse. No, we don't. We have what the fuck? Yeah, we do. We have Stenhousemuir versus Motherwell. That's kicking off in a couple of hours. We have Hearts versus Inverness Cally. Inverness Cally, who put out East Fife in the last round, and then East Fife then went out and got a striker from Hearts. Remember the striker from Hearts I was telling you about last year that was coming through for the B team? He's been loaned out to East Fife. Interesting one. To further his development at 17 years old. Told you want to watch. And then you have Hibernian versus Partick Thistle. And then later on we have Rangers versus St Mirren. Come on, you Saints. Come on, you Saints. I think that I'm going to take St Mirren, who are the holders of the cup. I'm going to take St Mirren for that one today. Anyway, hope you've had a fantastic day, and apologise about this morning. It was obviously out with my control and I had to use my phone, and that didn't work out at all. If the scores go right, we'll be back on this evening. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are. All